team within CIS, and I lead our VMware exit offer, which is multifaceted, and one of our core partners on that VMware exit is Microsoft. I'm really pleased to have my friend Frederick here today to talk in detail about the Microsoft technology options available to customers as they're looking to navigate away from VMware and minimizing their exposure. So the session, I'm going to give a little bit of context at the beginning in terms of what's actually happened with Broadcom since the acquisition. Frederick is going to talk about how to navigate that impact with Microsoft, and then we'll kind of close out with some information on how Microsoft and Capgemini can help customers and what we're doing today with customers around the globe. So in terms of the acquisition, so in November 2023, Broadcom completed on their acquisition of VMware. It was, as I'm sure everybody knows, it was a significant event last year. The price paid was 61 billion. It was a significant investment that Broadcom made. That they have a strong strategy as a consequence of the purchase around growing their revenue over the next 3 years. And to achieve that core aim, they are refocusing VMware on its core business and divesting non-core assets within the VMware portfolio. They're consolidating their the product portfolio, removing products and getting down to a very small set of product subscriptions that people can buy. And the key changes are perpetual licenses have disappeared. You can only have subscription licenses. There's subscription bundles, as I say, that group together applications, products from the VMware portfolio that you have to buy as a subscription bundle. You can't buy independently. New pricing plans has had a significant impact on customers as well. They've seen between 1.5 to 10 times price increase, depending on the customer and the products that they're using. And another key one is the licensing metrics have also changed. So the underlying metrics that are used for a subscription component have changed and that's impacted some customers more than others. If you're using vSAN, if you've got quite high core density, it has an impact. So it really is very specific. But those changes overall, they've had quite a bit of a change and impact on customers. So customers are seeing, as a consequence of that, obviously their subscription licensing going up. Perpetual licenses that they've had previously and are probably still in the process of capitalizing are no longer applicable. They have to repurchase if they want to maintain software support. And the consequence and impact to those customers is that they've got uncertainty, disruption to other workers. They've got to refocus people on dealing with the impact. Now, do I change? Do I continue? Do I try to optimize? The impact to the organization in terms of business strategy. Do I have to accelerate my cloud transformation program to move away more quickly? There's the immediate impact to their P&L in terms of unplanned operational expenditure and potentially those stranded costs. And then also you've got potential issues with skills. So if the customer is going to move away, does that mean that they need to have to change the skills to support the infrastructure services? So those are quite concerning to customers. And what Gartner and the industry see is they expect approximately 30% of customers to be moving away from VMware vSphere services. Now, we're seeing that already the speed at which they change is really going to be dependent on the industry. But we're seeing some examples of our clients where they're making an immediate change away from it. Some are taking a slightly longer process. And Frederick's going to go into more details on some of those aspects that he's seeing from Microsoft's side. Now, there are a lot of options open to you as a technologist in terms of, well, what do I do in the event of moving away? You can optimize your VMware. You can look at alternatives on premise, so you keep the level of change and disruption minimized. And there could be constraints, business constraints that are limiting what you can do. You could be looking for a tactical solution to offset the license exposure that you've got, or you could be accelerating that strategic long-term solution and acceleration your transformation to public cloud and Azure services. So where you sit and how that customer looks at it, because it may not be a single 1, 2, 3, it's very likely to be a combination of all three that the customer needs to look at across their business. So what do our customers need and what are we seeing? They're struggling with the situation to get their heads around what they can do. It's understanding how they can get the best commercial pricing for the options that they're looking at, and then it's like what the journey they want to make. They haven't got the implementation partner to go to.
I think so. Asking earlier.
So I'm going to hand over now to Frederick, who's going to talk to you more about actually the Microsoft technology stack here. But hopefully that gives you some context as to why this is so important. So Frederick, over to you.
Thank you very much. So first of all, let's make sure that you can hear me correctly, because we have a very high-tech connection with this laptop and everything. It works, but the sound is okay?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, so super. So thanks a lot for your invite. Super happy to be here. It's always a great pleasure to meet partners and customers, and talking on the technology that you specialize. So my name is Frédéric Esnouf. Just to introduce myself in the context of that session, I'm part of Microsoft for now 17 years. So it's been a very long time ago that I had my first badge. The reason I start with this is because I was part for 10 years of the team in charge of selling Windows, of selling System Center, and selling pretty much the on-prem. And I will, of course, give you some more details in the next slide. So I remember very, very well the competition at this time, 10 years or 20 years ago against VMware. So it's very fun to be today Mr. VMware or Mr. Broadcom at Microsoft. So it's kind of funny, but it's a great pleasure to work with them. So I will give you some insight, and so you will be able to understand, what is going on and what we can do. Just wanted to come back on the history of AVS, of course, in the context of Broadcom. I think that there's one important date a year ago at around October, Microsoft started to accelerate the conversation with the customer about Broadcom. Why? Because most of the employees at VMware knew for sure that in a few months they would be acquired by Broadcom. So we started to have some feedback from customers such as, oh, we are dealing the renewal, it doesn't work very well, we were expecting more discount, and so the discussion, the negotiation started to be a little bit hard, especially because the VMware employee also started to think about the future, which was not, that perfect for them. Then in Feb, when Broadcom acquired VMware, of course, that wave accelerated. But what we had at the same time is two things. One has been mentioned. It's the new licensing model from Broadcom called VCF. And the other one also is the impact on the partner side. So let me give you some details. What you need to have in mind is that VCF is very simple. It's three stacks. One is all the technology regarding virtualization for the servers, all the components for managing the servers, so automation, monitoring, and everything. And the third stack is pretty much Tanzu and all the container storage. So in the past, a customer was able to pick and choose what they wanted to run on their on-prem. So the price was totally aligned with the different kind of components that this customer wanted to use. For example, just the hypervisor, not the networking layer, and so on and so on. So the price was sometimes very, very low. And unfortunately now the customer have and must buy the full bundle, the full VCF bundle. So as a result of that, and I totally backstory on that, my personal record is 17 times the price during a renewal. So what is going on right now is we have an acceleration of the discussion with the customer, not started yesterday, a few months ago, and especially because the time is ticking and they don't have time because they need to find a solution for the renewal date of their contract, and they wonder where they have to go. And I will come back in a minute on that vision. So that has been very, very, the moment. And what was not really expected is all the big confusion around Broadcom and their strategy with the partners. So you probably have seen that OVH, for example, had 5 versions of their offer with Broadcom since the acquisition, because every time they do something, there's something blocking. So yeah, it's kind of hard, and hopefully Microsoft is not impacted, and I will again come back on this in a few slides. But it's complicated, and we need to, of course, do the best for our customers and give them, a humble vision of, what we can do. So that's for the. So when we engage a conversation with the customer, of course, there's already some ideas in mind about, the next steps. But it's very confusing. Should I move my VMs somewhere else and stay where I am running VMs, or should I go PaaS, or should I go IaaS? There's a lot of complexity, and so what we try to do at Microsoft is not to say this is the technology, this is where you have to go. Of course, for us it's the cloud, but in terms of technology, we don't say, oh, you need to go AVS, you need to go IaaS, or you need to go PaaS or SaaS, whatever. But rather say we have multiple options, and let's talk about the different kind of options we have and the pros and cons of this different kind of option. But what is very important to understand is that there's a tiny difference right now with AVS. What is this difference is the fact that in probably 90% of the option that we have on the table, we need to use the word migration. So it's not only moving from data center A to data center B, it means transforming, for example, the bits of the virtualized machine. It's changing the management, solution. It's training the people, losing their certification on VMware, for example, and going into another technology. So most of the solution that we have on the table, which is pretty much, I want to get out from VMware, I don't want to talk anymore to this guy. In fact, it's not very easy, because most of the time people love VMware. They love VMware for years, they're certified and everything. So there's some other option you have on the table, and there's only one technology, and this is why it's in the red over here, and it's super important to have that in mind. It's not, again, the technology that you need to use. It's a very strong opportunity that you have to accelerate your moves in the cloud. It's called AVS. Why? Because we are not migrating the technology, the on-prem of the customer. We're just moving the VMs. So what I mean here is that they stay where they are. We don't need to upgrade the VMs. We don't need to change the bits. We don't need to train people. Keep what you like in VMware and remove what you don't like in Broadcom. So take the full infra, move it in the cloud on this solution called AVS. It's right-click move. It's, let's say, super easy compared with the migration. And at the end of the day, you will keep all the things you want and all the things you like for years, and you will just remove the challenge that you have on the table, which is pretty much the price and the price increase of your infrastructure. So we can go to the next slide if you want to. So here is an ugly slide, but it's super efficient in a call with a customer. I call this the decisions chart. So it helps you to envision the different kind of opportunities that you have. So we start with the light blue square, and it's the statement. I am on-prem. I love VMware for years. It's rock solid. I have automation. I have, I have certification. I love to go in Spain once a year at the event and meet people. I love VMware, but definitely I don't want to pay the price for Broadcom, right? So that's the statement. If in this equation, the most important part is I want to stay on-prem, this is the left part of the slide. So what you will do if you stay on-prem is 100% you will have to migrate. You will need to quit the VMware technology and go somewhere else. Of course, there's some Microsoft technology that could be used, like Hyper-V at the left, HCI at the bottom. We have a lot of good things about Nutanix. We have open source like Proxmox. There's a lot of different kind of technology. But if you do so, you migrate, it's going to be long, 2 years, 3 years. It's going to be an investment on the customer side. And I like to challenge my customer, and I like also to challenge my partner. Where are we going to be in 2 years at the end of the migration? At the same place, still running VMs. The only thing which will change is another hypervisor, right? So we can't just say, I want to stay on-prem, move somewhere else if we don't inject some innovation, something positive in that migration. Otherwise, you're burning money just to move from a hypervisor to another one. Because the move is not easy. VMware is really the leading technology on the market today. The product is very strong. Going to something else is like fuzzy, unknown, and so on and so on. Of course, it requires a lot of man days and work and night and weekend. But at the end of the day, we're still at the same place. So I like to challenge my customer. Do you really want to stay there? Or are you willing to talk a little bit about potential innovation that we can bring on the table? And at the right is if the customer is open to go in the cloud. Because if we go in the cloud, if we go in IaaS, it's also migration. So it's also going to take 2 years. Of course, at the end, you will be in the cloud. You can optimize the pricing. There's a lot of, I will not say innovation, but there's a lot of positive, stuff compared with the on-prem. But still, if the time is ticking and you need to renew your contract, you need to find a solution, and it's going to be very, very long to go this way. So where is that new opportunity? Not new, in fact, we have this for years, but new in terms of buzz, if you will. This is the blue one that you have at the top, at the bottom right. It's called AVS. What is AVS? It's very simple. It's 100% VMware technology running in Azure. And the good thing of that is that as soon as you move on this technology, so right-click, move, it's called vMotion. As soon as your VM is on the other side, then you have locked the price with Microsoft. Why? Because AVS is only the hypervisor. We don't need to buy the full VCF bundle, right? So you can immediately lock the price. From a technical perspective, what we do is reserve instance. So you have pay as you go, 1 year reserve instance, 3 years reserve instance, and 5 years reserve instance. So a customer who is totally afraid can lock the price for 5 years, right? And that brings an opportunity when you want to do a very quick migration, because in fact, you're not migrating the VMs, you're just moving the VMs. And to be honest, moving VMs between data centers and between clusters is something customers do all the time, right? So you just need to build the infrastructure on both sides, on-prem and in AVS, connect them together. That will create one VMware infra, one in Azure, another one on the on-prem. And then as soon as you have this, it's 100% the console of VMware. You don't see Azure, you don't see Microsoft at all. The other interest on that technology, which is super important also, is that even customer who loves VCF, so they are not impacted at all on the price. The feedback we have is we're not very comfortable with Broadcom. Why? We lost our sales team. We lost this consulting guy we've been working for years. So they are a little bit afraid. I give you my point of view from a technology perspective. I'm not afraid at all. It's going to work very well. They're investing a lot of money on the pure technology. Of course, on the sales aspect, support, access, and consulting aspect, there's a big unknown there because there are a lot of people left the company and they're restructuring everything. So what happened is if you move in AVS, Broadcom is not anymore in your equation because your contract is with Microsoft. So we will take care of the price, we will take care of the support, we will patch at night and during the weekend when there's some security updates on the platform, we will manage that on our side. And AVS is a first-party technology at Microsoft. First-party means the highest level in terms of quality. It's the same as SAP or Oracle, things like this. So you will go, for example, if there is a security update, I can give you a real story. V8 of VMware is on the market for a month. It's still not deployed in AVS. Why? Because we have tested, and we never succeeded to stabilize. We had patches, and so on and so on. And you pretty much had the same feedback from customer who deployed this on-prem. They also encountered some problem, right? So we will really take care of that boring work, if you will, that you need to do at night or during the weekend, and it's 100% included in the price. So that's the the value of AVS. So have in mind that chart when you're talking with the customer or when you're talking with your colleagues. This is pretty much a different kind of option you have to move. At the left, it's purely migration, long, unknown, of course, high price. And at the right, you have the opportunities in the cloud. Allow me to add one extra thing. At the left, you have Hyper-V and HCI. And I want to be very clear with you. This is two great technology. The problem that I have is in our term, we call this partner-led. It means it has to be led by the partner. Why? Because the data center team, where I started to work like 12 years ago, do not exist anymore for 10 years. We don't have at Microsoft any pre-sales team dedicated to Hyper-V. We don't have any team dedicated to HCI because HCI, you need to buy the hardware. So it will be Dell, Fujitsu, or IBM that will do the pre-sales. So if the customer want to go Hyper-V, they rely 100% on their skills and on the skills of the partner. At Microsoft, we don't have any financing, we don't have any training, we don't have any more any team focusing on this technology. At the right, we have plenty of people, plenty of options. But on the left, on the on-prem, unfortunately, we don't have any more that kind of team. So don't be afraid by the technology, but be very, very, very clear with your discussion. If you go at the left, you are 100% in charge of that move, process, migration, technology, and so on and so on. I'm not even sure that I have an updated PPT, so PowerPoint presentation about Windows, right? If you have any question, we can go back on this one at the end. Maybe you can go to the next step, to the next slide. Thank you. So just for your information, there are some links here. What I'm saying right now is already online. So there's a video that appeared at the Super B Windows Server Summit 4 months ago. The boss of Windows did a session, is saying exactly the same thing. So AVS, native VM, so IaaS. Then if you want to stay on-prem, HCI, and if you want to stay on-prem, Hyper-V, is going in some details from a technology perspective, but he's saying exactly what I'm saying right now, maybe with different kind of words. He's an engineer, I'm more a pre-sales person, but he's saying exactly the same thing. So don't be afraid to have that kind of information. And if you want to give some sort of proof on the table, feel free to go on this slide. We can go to the next slide. Great. Another good piece of information that I really advise you to have a look. In July, we had an online event, an online video. So it's in the comments of the PowerPoint. It's a video that is very interesting because the picture of you see the pictures of the guys in this video. The first one is Brett Tenzer. So Brett Tenzer at Microsoft is the vice president for strategic partnership. So he has Broadcom, of course. He has SAP. He has Oracle. So it's interesting. In only 10 minutes, this VP, he has he is allowed to talk, for Microsoft, will clearly explain where we were with Broadcom, where we are right now, and where we're going. And if you go back in July, it was announcing VCF, bring your own license, and so on and so on. And the screenshot you see at the bottom left of this slide is in fact the announcement that we had yesterday. All the contracts have been signed. Now VCF is fully supported by Microsoft. So if the customer have VCF, they can come in our cloud, and they will have a discount, automatic discount on the VMs. We will not ask them to pay the licenses. So why I share that with you is because we at Microsoft have not been impacted by Broadcom. Why? Because the partnership is very high in terms of relationship, and we are super clear in what we're doing and where we're going. So we announce roadmap every 3 months. It has been 100% respected. It's not the case for the competition. You can look at Amazon, Google, and the OVH. It's very complicated for them because the partnership is not at the same level. And I most of the time rely on this video to prove to my customer that what we're saying, like, oh, when are you going to multiply your price by 10? Well, it will never happen, first of all, because you lock the price. And number two, it's because you just rent the hypervisor. You don't rent everything. So have a look at this video. I think it's very interesting. You have some demos also, but the first part from Brett Tanzer is really something that I value all the time with my customer. And maybe next slide. So what you have in AVS, it's pretty much what I said. So it's in the price. So you pay per node, per machine. And when you pay for a, 64 cores machine, in the price, you have all the data center piece, so real estate, electricity, cooling. You have the machine itself, and you also have the VMware licenses. And underneath, we will take care of upgrades of the platform when there's a major one. And the example of the V8 is very interesting, but also the patch management. So if there's a hot, security update that have to be deployed, we will take care of that. Of course, you inform, right? On your page, you will know that what we're doing and everything, but it's very interesting. And for the customer who have VCF, we can also leverage their license. So bring your own license and lower the price by I think it's 20%, which is quite significant in terms of price. Can go to the next slide. So now just take 3 minutes to think about migration. We want to go from A on-prem into B in the cloud. The classical way is to say, I have my VM on VMware. I run a tool called Azure Migrate. I change the bit, and then it's running IaaS. That's the ideal scenario. There's a lot of pre-checks. There's a lot of pre-upgrades. There's a lot of things that you need to do before you do this, and including big HR transformation. Now I injected here in a very simple chart, AVS. So if you go from left, which is I'm 100% VMware, and if you go in the middle, you can say, I will migrate the dev and test because it makes sense. I can stop at night my VMs. I can stop during the weekend. I can change the power of my machine in real time. But also you can quickly move most of the VMs from VMware into the cloud because they will be running on top of AVS. So if you look at the thickness of the arrows, the migrate is very small because there's, for example, dev and test, small amount of VMs, but the production, the finance, whatever kind of application running in the VMs will run also in AVS because there's no pre-work, there's no upgrade, there's no training that you need to implement. So usually what we say is this phase, we can go from 2 years or 3 years, which is migrate, into something like 3 months or 6 months, because it's just a matter of planning and then right click and move, right? So we just need to plan and find the bundle of VMs talking to each other and migrate during the weekend. There's a public reference on UBS in Swiss. I worked on this project. We are migrating 4,000 VM per weekend, to give you an idea. And why it's possible? Because of VMware, because the technology in VMware is capable of doing this. It's just a matter of network connectivity, and that's it. So in this example, you can do a very quick exit into the cloud, lock your price, lower the pressure, lower the anxiety, get rid of Broadcom if it's what you want to do. So now you're running in the middle in Azure. You get some benefits in red. Maybe it's a little bit small, but you get free security updates on your VMs. You get a lot of advantages. And then now it's fine. It's running well. It's you're not under pressure. Then you can migrate and go somewhere else. So the transformation piece, we call this the move and transform. The transformation piece is the third, block on this slide. You can stay on AVS for some of them. You can move in IaaS if it makes sense, or you can go PaaS or AI or whatever kind of innovation. So this way we can quickly, face the challenge of price increase with Broadcom, and that's another way of thinking about how to migrate. So of course A to B is the left to the right, but we have this step in the middle that works very well. We've done that many times. It works very well. We have all the metrics, all the experience. We also have a dedicated team at Microsoft called Migration Factory that can click for you on the button to move the VMs. So it's very and that's the role of my team, in fact, to do this kind of project. Maybe next slide. Maybe last thing, which is very important, you will find a lot of studies about, is it less expensive to stay on-prem or go to the cloud? I have this one that I hate. It says, it's so inexpensive to go in the cloud in AVS. So you see the two bars. The left one is on-prem, and when you go to the right by magic, all the price disappear and you're done. I think it's if we just say this is the truth, we're lying. Right? Sometimes it's a little bit less expensive. Sometimes it's a little bit more expensive. The big saving is you don't need to pay the big price to Broadcom, and you're lowering the stress. So have a look. It's an example of comparing numbers, but we can't say this is the truth. You will save money. Sometimes it's 10% more expensive, but at the end of the day, you moved out and you're done. Next slide. Last, just feedback for you. We have more and more questions about green, and of course it's something that we value a lot at Microsoft. Where you know that we have a lot of investment. So it's a classical slide about how you can save a lot of carbon and so on and so on. AVS is part of this motion. So sometimes some people want us to also embark that conversation. You probably know that in Azure, we have different kind of tools that can compute for you and tell you exactly your savings on carbon. It's not the super killer, subject that we do with customer, but it's also one of the advantage when you go quickly in the cloud. You're good in your carbon footprint. So I think it was interesting to mention. Next slide, and I think we're pretty much very close to the end. It's just to wrap up a summary of what I said. I don't want to take too much of your time if there's some question. I don't know if it's now or just after the second part. Let me know how you want to do it. But that's all the detail that I wanted to share with you in 20-25 minutes. I hope it's been interesting for you.
Thanks a lot, Frédéric. Yes, of course. And we will arrange to keep at least 10 minutes for the question at the end.
Sure. Thank you. Stuart, back to you.
Great. Thank you, Frederic. So as Frederic has articulated, it's a complex decision making as to which way a customer can go. AVS offers some significant advantages as part of a broader migration, moving workloads and then migrating and then transforming. The path that customers take is going to be different for every single customer, and for pockets or parts of their business will likely have to take different routes depending on whether it's non-production or whether it's a separate business unit. So understanding and recognizing that there's no simple path, that the routes they can take, whether it is to optimize VMware, reuse and move to Hyper-V or some other technology such as Nutanix, moving into AVS or moving into cloud native services. Those combined with organizational inhibitors are going to be really important to understand the customers to make that right decision, and then balancing that with that risk of change in terms of the security and compliance obligations they have, the cost, feature parity between the various technologies, one of the great advantages of AVS, downtime and service quality, the complexity, and importantly, I can see that there's a question in the chat as well, performance. So with that in mind, what Capgemini are doing with customers right now is we're going in and helping. Now, different customers are in different parts of this journey, but fundamentally it comes down to helping customers understand the impact of the changes. So they might already have received their subscription renewal from Broadcom, they might not have done. But understanding rapidly what the impact is and evaluating that impact on their business in terms of, well, what's it going to look like over the next 3-year period, so that I can make an informed decision as to how I want to react. And then the second part is looking at the options open to that customer. So whether it is, let's just optimize my VMware platform. That's all I want to do. I've already got a transformational business plan in operation. I just want to mitigate the immediate risk. Or if it's, I now need to accelerate and I want to look at all of the options, whether that's moving to AVS to evacuate my on-premise VMware, or looking at a more transformational, that understanding the options open to them, developing solution options that address those constraining factors, the risk elements, and producing an analysed option with recommendations, and importantly, a business case to demonstrate whether there's the return on that investment is really crucial to allow customers to make an informed decision. And we're seeing customers moving. Some of them are taking the rapid insight because they haven't done this already. Some are looking at just the options assessment, working with Microsoft and ourselves to understand what the options are. And that's where we lean on our expertise from Frederick and his team of black belts, who can help us make sure that we get the best optimized business case for moving into an AVS solution. And then finally, obviously implementing the solution, making use of our Capgemini capability, our methodology, our frameworks to accelerate that business transformation, whether that's a move to AVS or an optimization of their on-premise VMware, or some other transformational journey that they wish to go on. So in terms of, I'm going to quickly run over these two in terms of like the actual activities. The rapid insight, it's delivered in 2 weeks, and it's intended to be something that is a consulting-led engagement. The options assessment, 6-week period, it's more deep dive consulting engagement, but it's intended to provide the key content in terms of a directional business case and logical design for the solution options that are identified, and that's done with the customer. Finally, I just want to articulate how we see this as for a customer. Now, it really, as I've said, depends on which way the customer, what constraining factors and which path the customer wants to take. But what's very important is that that's the end state isn't just moving into that an AVS solution or Azure native solution. That to make cloud work, you need to have sustainable FinOps, you need to have platform engineering, and you need to have a modern cloud operations that is able to support and manage those workloads effectively in cloud. And we know that as architects, that it isn't just a platform discussion. It's a much more complex transformational journey as you move towards cloud. But it's very important that you set off on that journey with those right things in mind in terms of, well, what's my outcome need to be. But I'm just going to leave with key contacts for within this the SCE region. We've got Russell O'Connor, Eugene, and Christophe, who should be your go-to people. You can obviously contact myself and my team if you need any support or understanding of how you deliver these the assessments, and help from myself and Frederick and his team is available if need be. And I think 45 minutes, Adrian, I think we hit your time. So it's over to questions.
We are perfectly on time. Thanks a lot, Stuart and Frederick. If you have some question in the chat, please feel free to continue to push question in the chat. Frederick, maybe I'll let you start with the few ones.
Yeah, so VMware exit, Nutanix entrance. That's a totally reliable, solution when the customer wants to stay on-prem. You're probably aware that Nutanix has hired a lot of very good engineers from VMware. In France, we have Stanislas Castana, and there's some other people that I know. So if the customer really want to stay on-prem for 100%, this technology, it's still a migration. It's still a cost. Who will pay for the migration? I have a joke from a colleague at Nutanix, says, Fred, what is the name of the hypervisor from Nutanix? I said, I don't know. I said, not me either. No, it's a joke, but it's a serious technology. But of course, it has to fit what the customer wants, and if they want to stay on-prem, absolutely great. I'm not afraid at all to say that to a customer. Regarding the 5 years raise of instance, so to be clear, we have pay-as-you-go 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. The 5 years arrived a year ago just to prove 100% to the customer that if they go with Microsoft, it's mid and long term. Why? Because at this moment, a lot of people were appearing and disappearing. You know that Amazon quit the business. OVH had 4 or 5 versions, unfortunately, due to the partnership. So what we did is we said, okay, we can go up to 5 years, and it's working well. Is it going to be available after the end of December? I have no idea. My feeling is that why not? It's just a matter of how many years we can guarantee that we have the maintenance on the hardware. So we are deploying a lot of machines we have deployed a lot of machines in the recent, I would say 3 months, that we call the AV 64, so 64 cores. So it really makes sense. But to be honest with you, most of the customers don't go in 5 years for one reason. If they want to do move and transform or move and innovate, 5 years doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit the innovation speed that they want to reach. So what we use most of the time is 1 or 3 years, and most of the time 3 years, because there's a lot of exit option. So if they move and transfer after 2 years, the remaining 1 year can be converted pretty easily. And there's a lot of things, and it's part of the return on investment strategy that we can discuss with the customer. So that's about the 5 years. The VDI, we have multiple different kind of subject. One is when the customer is using Horizon, which is the VDI of VMware. As Horizon has been sold to another company, most of the customer don't continue this way, and then they will never migrate in RDS in a VM, no matter where it's running, on AVS or IS. What they usually go, and what I see most of the time, is they go VDI, native VDI on Azure. We don't have any migration inside of the VMs. So I would say that the latency should be okay. I'm not an expert in VDI, but I have someone in my team dedicated to that. So if there's a VDI question in the context of Broadcom, I bring these experts, and they can answer any kind of question. If you have Capgemini question about this, we have multiple people in different kind of country, including France, that can deep dive this question. I'm not an expert and never really worked on VDI, so I will probably do assessment, false feedback, I think. Is there any other question? So the ROI, yes, super important. So the way we engage this discussion is very simple. We ask the customer to share with us a dump of their config. It's called RV tool. So it's very simple. Export, and then you have a big Excel spreadsheet. We use that Excel spreadsheet as the truth, the 100% truth of what is running on the customer side. We have all the details. And what we do, we import that in a tool that we have internally. we can't share it with the customer because there's some access to the API and stuff like that. But we can share with you, of course, the result. It takes like 10 minutes. And at the end of the exercise, we have all the details about the architecture, the different kind of option. Should we add more or, nodes, or rather should we go Azure NetApp file, or should we go ESAN for the storage, different kind of option. So we can see clearly what is the price at the end of the day. Not comparing with the on-prem, of course. This is a AVS-centric tool, but it brings on the table different kind of options that are very, very interesting. And if we want to really compare with the on-prem and see, if you remember my slide, who is the most expensive and so on and so on, we can also engage this conversation, but it means that the customer needs to share all the data, the pricing, licenses, and everything. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So that's something also we can do at Microsoft to help you all, to progress. I have some samples, anonymized version. So if there's some champ in the team that want to dig in with me, super happy to have a session with you. So you will, really stress a little bit and so on and so on. So it's going to be an interesting topic. So regarding Kubernetes, DR, what is the best solution? The answer we give to that question to the customer is we have no idea. I have a nice screenshot with 5 or 6 different kind of technology. Most of the time, what we do is we ask the customer if they have something. If they're running Vim, there's no reason why they should exit Vim or Zerto or something like that. I have good relationship with Jetstream. I know that they're in most of our online documentation. To be honest, we don't recommend anything. We just rely 100% on the customer and the partner, because DR is also a process for automation. So we don't want to put our fingers in Vim or in Jetstream and so on and so on. So we usually have a pre-conf call to explain what we can do with AVS and what is the high-level logic. And then we plug the technology, and we 100% rely on the partner and or the customer. I'm not so sure that someone will recommend something because it's not in our hand. It's a marketplace. So, but I know that Jetstream is most of the time mentioned in the online documentation.
What are the best practices for managing a hybrid cloud environment that includes both AVS and other Azure services, such as Azure Kubernetes services, Azure functions? And how can you ensure consistent policy enforcement and resource governance?
So it's hard for me because I'm not an expert on the Kubernetes discussion. So maybe the answer will not be perfect for you. I know that we have done a lot of investment in the past years because that was my role on Azure Arc. So Azure Arc is an agent that you have in Kubernetes in different kind of Kubernetes deployment, including AKS. You can run the agent also in Windows, Linux. And what this agent does, it creates a life of these machines or instances in the cloud. And as soon as you are in the cloud, you have policies that you can use to enforce, the way you want to do it. I know very well the Arc technology on VMs because I've been covering this on Linux. On containers, I'm a little bit less good. Maybe we can have an offline conversation. I really don't want to provide a feedback that is not reliable, but for the VMs, that's the way I would do it. Arc agent, and you have the policy that will enforce at the VM level. Windows, Linux, it works very well. There's also an extra component for SQL because there's a lot of checks on SQL that we want to do for security reason, and it's based on policy. So, for example, if the policy says you must be ISO 27, then the policy is enforced via the agent, and you have in your console, is your infra, no matter where it's going, on-prem, in AVS, hosted by Capgemini. The agent does the magic, creates a life for that VM in the cloud. I think it's a free technology. For me, Arc is free. So you can, policies you need to pay, but Arc is free.
And then we have another question. How will you configure and optimize the network topology for a hybrid cloud environment that includes both on-premises VMware vSphere and Azure VMware solution? And what are the key considerations for ensuring low latency and high throughput?
Yeah, so the latency pretty much is very linked to the quality of the network. So what the discussion we have is really where is arriving your express route and where is located your data center. So this is why in my team, we are not specialized in everything, but there's guys specialized in networking and optimization. So in the call, when networking is super important, I bring my colleague and they answer all this question, but we pretty much look at the route, the quality, the ping speed, the latency and everything. And that's the basics. And if you focus now on VMware on-prem, there's a specific technology on VMware that will take care of the network. So this technology, which is not deployed all the time, when it's deployed, the good thing of that technology is that you can extend your IP address from the on-prem into AVS. So when you move your VM, you're not only moving it very quickly, but also the IP will. So the beauty of that is you can migrate almost during the day. Well, it's a bit late, but it's very quick, and you're not migration. You must change all this IP, and if you have hard-coded IP, then it's going to be messy. With VMware technology, the networking layer VMware technology, you can extend your IP. The recommendation is not to keep that forever, right? So it's a technology that is supposed to be used during a migration period. So if it's 6 months, a year, that's fine. But don't expect to have that IP extended for many years because it involves a little bit of complexity. What is my default gateway and so on and so on. I don't want to go too deep dive in the technology, but it's an opportunity to migrate quickly, less impact, but it's not something you should keep for many, many years or many years. So and again, this is VMware technology, so that proves that the technology is very good. So that's the way I would do it for the network. I see some thumbs, so I'm also thumbing the audience.
And we have another question about the migration. What performance benchmarks and scalability metrics should be considered to ensure that the migrated VMware workload in EVS meet or exceed the performance levels of the on-premises environment?
Yep.
And how can this be monitored and optimized over time?
Oh, I think I need to save an hour for that answer because it's going to be very to be very quick. When you design an AVS architecture, you have multiple type of machines. These machines are not Microsoft machines. These machines are pretty much imposed and validated by Broadcom, right? So we have 36 core, so AV36. We have AV36P. That's the oldest generation. So if you look at the CPU and stuff like that, that's the oldest generation. We are totally changing them into newer machines right now. Then we have another one called AV52, so 52 cores, and we are deploying AV64 cores. So during the RV tool analysis, design, and everything, we look at all these components, and if CPU is the most important, RAM is the most important, and disk is the most important. And when we look at disk, we have two possibilities. We can aggregate all the disk of the VMs and have a big disk, and that's perfect. But when we need a lot of space, we can't just add VMs because it's going to be super expensive. So what we do, we leverage ESAN and ENF. And there's different kind of version of this product to make sure that the IOPS will be okay. So this is where we go sometime into deep dive version. If we need to test an application, we can do so, and so on and so on. So that would be for the performance. For the monitoring, the idea is to don't change anything. If you're using ARIA from VMware, continue to use it. If you have another tool, continue to use it. Because we don't want people to be impacted. What you will lose a little bit is because the hardware is managed by Microsoft. You will not have as many metrics that you have on-prem. You can't touch the hardware, so you have another way to have some metrics. But we maintain the platform, and maybe that's where you will lose a little bit of visibility. But we guarantee performance on our side. So And again, it would require probably 2 hours of discussion on this question, but just to give you the flavor of the different kind of access that we have.
Perfect. On the Imad was asked the question, saying many thanks for your answer.
Okay, no problem. But if you have any question, you have my email on the first slide. I mean, I have no problem. Or if you have a champ in your team that want to go to relay all the question, I mean, I'm here for you also, so no problem.
Are there other questions from the audience?
I think that's all. We are coming to an end. But Frédéric,
super.
Thanks a lot for support.
Merci.
Excuse me, I've got a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit late. And I'm sorry because I could not hear all the presentation because I had a meeting during the middle of it. I understood the principle of migration into Azure or AVS. It's fantastic, it's brilliant, but I've got a special context clients which are more typical like ministry or things like that, and clearly they will not move into Azure. Okay, and so my question is, I know there is a big partnership between Microsoft and Capgemini and Orange for the platform Blue.
Yeah.
Do you know if AVS will be available on Blue?
You know, it's not yet in the plan. This is a big suggestion that we gave to Bleu. The real name is Bleu.
Yeah.
It's well, to be honest, it's up to Orange and Capgemini to invest into AVS and run public sector, for example. I really believe that there's something very interesting for public sector, because I doubt that you will call Ministry of Defense, hey guys, you have a training, you will learn Ansible and all the scripting to go in IS. I'm not very convinced by this strategy. So I think there's So if you can help me to help us to have AVS one day in Bleu, what I've heard is not in the second round of deployment, maybe in the third, and let's build a business case. I think it's just the way it works, because Bleu is investing when it makes sense, and I believe that there's a potential great opportunity for that kind of technology. But the answer is not yet. I would say not even discussed right now with my colleague in Bleu. At Microsoft. So if you have some good ideas, let's discuss, and let's open a new page of the Bleu story.
Thanks for the answer.
There is a question from Joseph who asks if the deck can be shared.
No, you have to pay credit card first. Yeah. For me, it's okay. If Stuart, you have a download link, it's okay for me. Nothing is under NDA. It's just public information. You can double check online. You have everything free.
So we'll work with Adrian to get the deck published, and it'll either be also linked into export as well, so that people that like to browse export, you'll find the link in there as well.
Yes, I'm pushing the deck into the chats. Okay, I think we're done. Thanks a lot, everyone, and hope to talk to you soon.
Waiting for your calls. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Les questions étaient super pertinentes.